WTOL-TV, Toledo. Straight from the newsroom, this is Toledo 11 News.
Just another day on the job for a YMCA worker.
Until she came across this.
Were set up and students were painting welcome signs.
It wasn't quite the thrill of the open road, more like the parking lot of Perrysburg Commons.
It will make its debut.
Just about the only event making news today.
2,000 carryout orders were handled.
Welcome into a special edition of the WTOL 11 Vault with me, Dan Cummins, joined by my colleague Jeff Smith. Jeff, this is our streaming show where we kind of dig through the archives of Toledo 11 history. We're touching an important topic this week.
This is without a doubt one of my favorite shows on WTOL 11 Plus. This episode, this one, is a special one because we're going to be turning the focus, the cameras around, and then pointing them back at us today. This week, we are going inside the newsroom and taking a behind-the-scenes look at how local TV used to work as far as the news telling, from the storytelling to the technology and, of course, the tight deadlines.
And yes, even the viewer skepticism, believe it or not, distrust in the media is not new.
What?
People had, I know, people had questions and concerns even decades ago, but for every challenge, there's a story, one that connects community, clarity, and trust.
And we're going to show you how it all came together in the early days of Toledo television. We begin with a rare look back with Toledo 11's Jim Proctor.
Straight from the newsroom, this is Toledo 11 News.
Just about the only event making news today in Northwest Ohio is the massive blizzard.
You've been watching Jeff Heitz as he anchors a Toledo 11 newscast.
Good evening. Ohio's worst blizzard produced winds of 75 miles an hour.
This is the final effort of a series of lesser efforts which enable us to bring you the news throughout the day.
It's pretty quiet right now, but 50 or 60 people have passed through here today.
We work hard to bring you the news and to make it as clear and concise as possible.
We like to take a look at just what is available to us in a given day. We're obviously looking for hard news, we're looking for feature news, we're looking basically for stories that involve people. That's basically what we're looking at. The end result of our day's activities, our aim for that day is a balanced accumulation of what has happened in a given day.
There are so many factors which go into the successful airing of a newscast that we thought you'd like to take a look behind the scenes and find out how we do what we do. To present a newscast each day, we have to have a certain number of stories. First off, out of a 30-minute newscast, only about a third or less, depending on the station, is devoted solely to news.
Get your tickets now and get in on Toledo Gold Digger action.
Commercials take up 8 minutes. Charles Berlin Open Hour needs 3.5 minutes for weather, or it needs 4 for sports.
The weather has stepped in to upset the sports program for the second straight week.
At the story scene, the basic information is gathered, the who, what, when, where, or why. But that could result in more information than we could include in a 30-minute newscast. Here the reporter's knowledge and editing skills come into play. Most stories are distilled to 1:30 or less, depending on importance and complexity. This story, for example, has lasted longer than our normal maximum, but this is a special occasion.
Special occasion. Okay, I've been at WTOL 46 years. I've been in the business almost 50. What you're seeing was handwritten stuff right there, and the noise of a newsroom, the clack, 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 you know,
Right.
people typing, that was just something you got used to. And then as we've gone into the computer age, everything's online, everything's quiet, and it's just so
Very
different.
very different. And I celebrate 30 years in November this year. And I think back to even when I interned at Channel 13 across the street many, many eons ago. But I remember Dan, I had to sign a release just to say, and that thing read, you are going to hear vulgar language. You are going to see things that are not to be shared with the outside public. But what we're doing here, I'm thinking in terms of, I think if we had cameras posted, you know, in this day of reality television,
Sure.
I think if we let people in on our meetings, our news gathering, that kind of stuff, I think it would do well. I think people would be fascinated.
I want to point one more thing out, too. Back in the day, we had a noon, 6, and 11. That's all we had.
That was it.
Now we're on the air from, what, 5 a.m.?
4:30.
4:30 a.m.
Yeah, well, 5 a.m., yeah.
Till, with the Fox 36 affiliation, we go to 9 o'clock, then 12 to 12:30. 4 to 6:30 and 10 to 11:30. So a lot more news product and a lot more news meetings throughout the day. Now, have you ever watched the news and thought, why are they covering that? Or why does it always feel so negative? Well, you're not alone.
Yeah, criticism, nothing new as far as the media goes. We get it here, you get it nationally, we know, especially during the elections. In fact, it's been baked into the relationship between newsrooms and viewers for decades. And as we're going to see in this next piece, even students training to become new journalists are learning just how complicated that relationship can be.
We're taking you back to a documentary-style look at TV news from the inside out. The expectations, the backlash, the complicated truth about trust in the media. It's gritty, honest, and in some ways, from Lou Hebert, still incredibly relevant today.
Plus, baseball.
All right, so everything's ready to go out here, huh? We think?
It's TV news in the rough.
I'll give you a 30 seconds to go.
Future broadcast journalist at BGSU.
Cure, bring up audio.
Learning the lessons of TV news, the easy ones
And the presidential candidates hit the road after
and the hard ones.
the 27-year-old was pronounced dead.
And there will be more hard lessons to learn.
Get him off of me! I don't want to be filmed.
The media has a responsibility.
Man, get them out here, man. This ain't no joke, man.
We know what happened.
Did you see it coming?
We know there's blood.
I have no idea what happened.
We don't need to see it.
People started running, and I'm standing next to a telephone pole, and I got hit.
That camera blaring at him, you're just ruining everything we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's depressing though. All the news seems to be bad.
Lead story tonight is the murder trial of Jamie Madrigal.
TV news is everywhere these days.
It's a case that caught the attention of an entire community.
Everywhere there's a TV, there's a critic.
Stand by.
What is it about TV news that we love to hate?
We have certain expectations of television, and then we have another expectation of news, which is to report facts, to not be biased, to be fair. And I believe that we're somewhat more critical of television news because we don't find it doing that.
When do the American people rise up and say, forget the media in America, we're going to make up our minds, you're not going to make up our minds?
The 1960s and the JFK assassination brought home the power and drama of television news. Even the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald was broadcast into our living rooms. Then came the Vietnam War, evoking powerful images and provoking the powerful critics.
In the United States today, we have more than our share of the nattering nabobs of negativism.
TV news soon became an influential broker of public opinion, but now it's the public opinion of TV news that's at stake. A recent survey from the Pew Research Center shows believability of the major networks rapidly declining in just 2 years. The same survey shows a massive loss of viewership in the same period. Less than half of all Americans regularly watch network television news.
What is the public really, what do they want from it? There's always criticism, but what do we want?
You're guilty. Good morning, guilty.
Bores me,
It bores you?
basically.
All the news seems to be bad, so I don't know. I'd rather watch sports or some comedy show instead.
I really don't watch much news. It's depressing. No offense.
That's kind of always been the mentality, though. It's always, there are those who make it appointment viewing at 5 o'clock every night. It's part of their routine.
That's how I was raised.
Right?
We watch the news every day at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yep.
Tell me if this is accurate for you in growing up, because I remember when the special report banner came up on national TV, it sent chills up your spine because you thought, holy cow, something really serious is happening. Today,
everything's breaking news. We call everything breaking news. We overuse that term.
But we get everything here, and we're desensitized.
And that has changed how we cover news because because we all have that. By the time the news comes on, you know that we need to go more in depth with some of these stories.
And that's the challenge. I wanted to go back to something just for our viewers to understand, for your perspective, we heard in the first part they were talking about coming together, putting together the morning meeting, figuring out your news coverage. When you were running a sports department, a lot of that comes to you. You have set games. However, the essence of sports journalism is the story within the game. How did you go about putting that meeting together? Because you had reporters, you had photographers.
Yeah, at the time, our niche was high school sports, still is.
Yeah.
College sports, BG Toledo, and we would give Ohio State and Michigan some coverage. But in terms of big moments like a national championship, a bowl game, things like that, then it got more focused on that.
Yeah.
But I think in the sports, we were busier and getting so much more stuff covered than the news department was. But yet again, it just... It kept us busy, but not that much in depth.
Yeah.
But more getting highlights and getting a lot of high schools on the air. News is a whole different animal, and I really love doing news more than I did doing sports at the time.
What did you take away from the meetings, the cultivation, the news gathering? What do you take away from that even today? I mean, 40 plus years in.
We genuinely try to be fair and balanced. Now, we are human beings. We all have our own biases, but we try to do the right thing. What's happened is, as Americans, we become more, because now Fox is on, all these different stations, conservative and liberal stations. You fit the pigeonhole to what you are. That's all you watch. And so your news is biased because you're listening to what you want to hear, not what you don't want to hear. And I think that's why we're so polarized now. We're all in our little silos.
And so many times people seek out their opinion.
Exactly.
And they just reinforce that, and they don't tap in. But every time I go out and talk to a classroom, every time I go out and talk to an organization, Dan, I tell them, still to this day, and I'll go to my grave saying it, but we do as best of job as we can to be middle of the road. Local journalism is where you find that.
And you can't paint us as being biased at the level network news is biased. There is definitely a bias with the network newscast.
But we get blamed for it.
We do, but we work really hard, especially during the election time, to be fair and balanced with both parties, all three parties, whatever they are.
Absolutely.
But when a big crime story breaks, our phones ring, inboxes fill up, viewers are watching closely. But sometimes how we cover crime becomes the story itself.
And the criticism, not new, as we've said, and it is not entirely unfair. We're going to revisit a time when the public trust in media was being tested, not unlike today.
This time it wasn't just for how much we were covering crime, but for how we were presenting it. From the OJ trial, remember that, to breaking news standoffs in our own backyard. This story asks a tough question. Are we informing or are we feeding an obsession?
That I did not, could not, and would not have committed this crime.
It was the trial of the century.
Okay, just stay on the line. I don't want to stay on the line. I'm going to beat the shit. Wait a minute.
For O.J. Simpson.
Mr. Simpson, do you understand the charges as I've read them to you?
Yes.
And for TV News.
But you got to tell the police to just back off. He's still alive, but he got a gun to his head.
But only TV News was found guilty.
OJ!
On a charge of sensationalism.
Yeah, but I think, number one, we can say this. We're going to be more cynical. We're going to be even more critical of the news.
The most common charge is that crime stories especially are overplayed, sensationalized by hype and sheer volume.
We had 3 people in this pile.
The Oklahoma City bombing, the Unabomber.
We're looking for survivors right now. We're hoping for the best.
And the explosion of TWA Flight 800. So many stories that network news coverage of crime has soared 10 times from what it was just a few years ago. And the TV crime wave dominates all other types of stories at the network and local levels. At a time when the American crime rate is down.
First doctor tomorrow.
Are we obsessed or pandering?
The victim did nothing except drive into South Central Los Angeles.
In some news markets, the motto is, if it bleeds, it leads.
They want to get to a story first. They want to show that they're first.
We want to update you now on the standoff in South Toledo. As we reported live earlier, dozens of police officers surrounded a Southside neighborhood.
Well, sometimes we go to these situations and the media's out there and they're really, got the satellite dishes up and covering everything.
Recently in Toledo, after a man was shot by police, he was believed to be armed and holed up in his house. Police were there, and so were the TV cameras.
Right now, it appears to be coming to an end.
And then it turns out to be maybe the suspect just walks out of the house and surrenders after all the hoopla, and it's almost like the media seems a little disappointed that it's not a bigger story.
But in this case, the story ended tragically.
Just talked to Toledo Police Chief Jewell Galvin. He tells me that Nate Stewart is dead. Jerry?
TV news reporters purport to tell you information, and sometimes it's not that nice, and sometimes it's not all that pretty.
And that ugly picture of life does not always play well with the viewers.
We're sitting down there and you might see some gory stuff. They have a tendency to show the blood, We don't need that.
When traumatic things are covered, I hate it that a lot of the details are there. I know that draws customers, but it seems like it's not respectable.
Police tell us they will most likely have to use dental records to identify this badly decomposed body. Now,
respectable or not, crime stories, according to another recent survey, are still by far the most popular stories among viewers.
We talked about in the story about if the media is there, it creates something over and above. Okay, here's an example. A few years ago, I don't know if you were Eve at Channel 13 back then, but the first Nazi march that we had, and the media came out. The North Toledo came out, and they were intimidating the neighborhood, and the neighborhood turned on the Nazis. It became a full-fledged riot. Right. All hell broke loose, and they decided to come back. I could be wrong. A year later or months later, whatever it was, and the attitude was changed. They were getting the word out like, leave them alone. If you ignore them, it'll just be a non-event. And it was. Yeah. The neighborhood did not really come out. People like, that again. And no one cared. Right. No one cared because the first time it was such a big national news event, and it worked out beautifully. The news was there from afar in case something did happen, but nothing happened. It was basically a non-story, thank goodness.
I know I've had conversations with one of our news managers, Josh Love, who's listening in on this broadcast today, but he and I have talked about the fact that when we get complaints, when we get those comments that come in that say, if it bleeds, it leads, that's why you do it. But we also focus, I want people to realize we also focus on the unusual, right? Because if some, that's why we're out there, because
man bites dog.
Well, exactly, and it's those things. If there was just a normal course of the day, and we went out and told you about the school bus that picked up its students, dropped them off at school, picked them up at school, dropped them off at home.
But if a bus driver had a cooler beer in the back, that would be a story.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is that unusual nuance that always kind of, it interests us as humans, it interests us as journalists because we want to know more about that.
Yeah. Every newsroom starts the day the same way, and that meeting we talked about, tossing around story ideas, deciding what leads the newscast.
Yeah, but what makes something news, what doesn't? We're talking house fires, we're talking a business moving, coming to town, or something that just feels big enough to affect the community.
We're heading inside one of those morning meetings where tough decisions are made. Sometimes viewers don't always like what they see. Some say we focus too much on the negative.
Yeah, you've heard that before. Others say we're just holding up a mirror to the world. You'll hear both perspectives here from the people making the news and the ones who are watching it.
2 apartments were destroyed. The rest of the place has smoke and water damage.
The morning news meeting.
How did she jump when she jumped off?
When TV newsrooms decide what makes news.
If Bob does BP, I think she buys cobblestone.
In this meeting, a house fire, a refinery fire, and
it looks like Chrysler's conceding that the new plant is needed.
A possible move by Jeep from Toledo.
I see Melissa doing something live.
By 9:33, it's decided that Jeep will be the lead story. Potential big news and potential bad news for Toledo.
Hi, Ernie. Nice to see you.
By 10 o'clock, a groundbreaking ceremony in Toledo becomes a mayor's media event for the Jeep story.
Based upon the history and tradition of Jeeps being produced in Toledo, Ohio.
At 3 p.m., it's shift change at Jeep. The TV scribes line up, fishing for sound bites.
Let me ask you a question. I'm in a hurry. Okay.
And what do they think about the TV news coverage of this story?
Do you think that we cover sometimes just the bad news that goes on out here?
Yes. I think you do a lot of that. Always the bad news. Because always negative, and we're tired of the negative.
And he's not alone. Even the Jeep's union chief is tired of all the bad news.
If everybody quit worrying about us and quit bugging us, we're going to be just fine here in this plant. If it was up to the news media, we'd be closed by now.
Even the governor joins in the attack.
The media has a responsibility, but if you want to concentrate on the glass being half empty, then everything will go over the cliff.
Killing the messenger isn't new, but is the messenger carrying too many bad messages? Is there a boom in the gloom?
You have for two. Well, it's
I don't think anybody who comes to the news assumes that it has to be all good.
Yeah, I mean, you turn on, besides for weather and sports, everything else is, some people dying or something bad.
Our society is based on conflict and often a large degree of crises.
They shouldn't be there to entertain, they should be there to just give us the facts.
And I don't think many people come to the news or attend to the news for positive reflection on society. That's not society.
No, it doesn't offend me, it just bores me.
I think we like to make sure we go out of our way to show good stories, happy stories, human interest stories, stories of people that are doing nice things for other people.
Right.
Make you feel good.
Right.
In addition to the nasty stuff.
There is negative in the world. There is evil in the world. There are bad stories, and we cover them. However, we are that sounding board for the community as well, and try to be as far as the good stuff, the stories of, I think back to some of the great achievements of local athletes that we've covered, the story in the game, that kind of thing, and teachers and how they're trying to shape the future.
Well, the power of journalism is undeniable. It can break a story wide open or break a person under the weight of public scrutiny.
Yeah, we continue a retrospective on journalism with a look back at the case of Richard Jewell. He, the security guard, wrongly accused in the Olympic Park bombing in Atlanta, and how the rush to judgment by media outlets, including TV news, turned a hero into a headline.
A story that raised lasting questions about fairness, bias, just how much digging is too much, because when the cameras are rolling and the pressure's on, the line between truth-seeking and sensationalism can blur, with real lives caught in the middle.
A deadly bomb rocks the Olympics. A security guard is considered a possible suspect.
Federal agents again showed up at security guard Richard Jewell's apartment.
TV News considers him fair game.
I felt like a hunted animal.
And finally, this week, he is cleared of all wrongdoing.
After 88 days of hell, it's hard to believe that it is really over.
How fair is TV News?
Everything's fair game, so it does not matter what your past has been. We're going to try to dig out as much as we can.
I have never been a quitter.
Richard Nixon thought we dug too much. He became fair game during Watergate, which became the watershed for aggressive reporting.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
And after Watergate, TV News was never the same. It transformed time into a blur of history, showing the world from angles we'd never seen before. No event, person, or corner of the world could escape the eye of the camera. And TV News became a visual and verbal assault on our senses and our sensibilities of fairness. Politicians of all stripes love to hate TV News. They also love to use it. Campaigns don't roll until cameras do. as conservatives roll their eyes.
Well, certainly, I think almost everyone concedes the press is startlingly liberal.
But not quite everyone concedes that.
I'm sort of doubting that liberalism, is some huge, uncontrolled ogre.
That camera off. I'm not agreeing to be interviewed. Turn the camera. Otherwise, I'll break it. Don't touch it.
Most of today's broadcast journalists, says Owens, come from mainstream, middle-class American family backgrounds.
My question is, are not many journalists somewhat conservative?
But conservatives scoff at that notion.
89% of the press voted Democratic in the last election. That would seem to be a fairly significant evidence of bias.
So far, the president's campaign has believed the least said, the better.
Questions of bias and fairness may always shadow the TV news screen. For as long as we believe it's a mirror reflecting the events of our daily lives, it will betray us.
Security guard Jewell was at first applauded as a hero.
For TV news is not a mirror, but a prism.
We have also announced that we will be suing NBC and Tom Brokaw,
reflecting many forms, shapes, colors, and angles of our reality.
I am an innocent man.
Sometimes reflecting the things we love to hate.
The Richard Jewell thing, I remember that very well. I was doing the Saturday morning show at that time, and sports. I would come in, and that news was breaking from the explosion overnight. And it changes to whether or not it was going to affect the Olympic Games, and Richard Jewell being tracked down and just treated brutally by the national media. It was, the poor guy.
Well, you think back to the days of tracking, and we saw in some of the pieces, tracking not only the JFK assassination. You talk about for me, one of the biggest impactful moments of my young life was the Challenger explosion, and covering that and watching and consuming every single detail I could get about that. We watched the O.J. trial. We think about the Atlanta bombing of the Olympics. I think about Lady Di. Her death and how that was just something that took over the airwaves.
But then 9/11 was a whole different level. That's a Pearl Harbor moment for the next generation that takes a lot of time to get over. And then, of course, the ensuing wars that we got into as well.
Yeah, it's been one of those things.
And that affected everybody because, people all around here were going off to war.
Yeah. On this week's WTOL 11 Vault, we open the archives to examine ourselves, the good, the bad, and the broadcast. And we've seen how the news business has always walked a fine line between informing and influencing.
And while the technology's changed, the fundamental questions have not. What stories do we choose to tell? Who do we hold accountable, and how do we earn your trust?
So what we do each and every day is about people. It's about real lives, real impact, and for us, it's about telling those stories with accuracy, with integrity, and hopefully a little humanity as well.
Thanks for spending some time with us in the vault. For Jeff Smith and our entire team, I'm Dan Cummins. We'll see you next time on WTOL 11 Plus.